Welcome back. Juanita Skillman is here to give us a United Mutual update from the meeting. Well, welcome. Nice to have you on again.
Thank you, Lisa. It's good to see you. We had an excellent meeting on Tuesday, and I just wanted to briefly talk about a couple things that we did at our meeting for those who didn't see it, and it's still being rerun, or you can catch it on YouTube if you want to see the full thing. First and foremost, we had a report from Tim Moy, because we're all feeling the earthquakes. There was another one this morning. I don't know if anybody
I did not know.
Got the shaking. Yeah,
Okay.
Just a small one, but still. It's good to know that our disaster preparedness and our security group are out there doing drive-around checks to make sure that there's no falling trees, no problems with any of the buildings. Many of the particularly the second one was the 7.1 that a lot of people felt. Many of our neighborhood captains went around and checked on their neighborhoods. We put on our little yellow vests and ran around to make sure everybody was doing okay. But he gave us just an update on what they do and how they do it, and the fact that they did use Code Red to notify all of the disaster preparedness team, even though it didn't go out to the whole community this time. But I hope it reassured people that we're in good hands.
Excellent.
We did not have a VMS report this time, and I just wanted to reiterate that we are all thinking and praying for Ron Bellner, who is in the hospital and is very ill, and we're hoping that things work out for him. In the CEO report, Jeff Parker told us that there's a new task force, workforce that's been formed, and it's starting to meet on revenue sources. We're going to talk about budget in just a little bit, but we know that just depending on our assessments isn't getting us as where we'd like to be. So there's a task force that's exploring what other ways could we bring in some money.
Okay.
And speaking of investments, we also voted, as did GRF and Third will to next week, change our investment company. We've been with one for 20, 25 years, and we decided it was time for a little shake-up. Not that they were bad or were doing anything wrong, but sometimes it's good to have just fresh eyes.
Yes.
And so we had a presentation of a new investment company, and we decided to go with them.
Okay.
The big things that were on the agenda were two motions that are going forward to our August meeting. As always, we have the first reading when we let everybody know what it is, and we invite your input if you have anything on it. One of them was the move-in, move-out rules, and we changed the hours on that because we're getting a lot of concerns from our residents who say, people are moving into the unit next to me at 2 o'clock in the morning and bother. So we have specific hours, and it was that it used to go until 10 o'clock at night, and now it goes till 8. We're trying not to implode on people's evenings.
Sure.
And so we did change the hours on that, and there are specific rules and enforcement on move in and move out. If you are coming in new, or you are moving either to another unit, or you're moving out of the community, you need to be aware of what those rules are. They'll tell you down in Resident Services. There's a wonderful flyer that you can have that will help you to follow all of those. And of course, the big thing there is on move-outs. Don't dump your stuff in our trash areas.
Right.
And that's a big problem, and we have it particularly with families who don't know our rules and don't know any better. Oh, there's a trash bin, we'll just fill it up, and if there's no room in the trash bin, we'll just dump mattresses or furniture in the enclosure next to it.
Right.
No, it's not good. And the second one was, again, something that we are just part of. It's not really a definite united rule as such, and that is traffic school eligibility. And what security has recommended, and what we spent a lot of time debating, but we went with, was the fact that there are certain infractions, violations that really don't benefit from traffic school. If you have a parking problem, traffic school really doesn't handle that.
Okay.
And by the same token, there are moving violations that do, but they have a larger fine, and people have been copping out on the fines because I'll just attend traffic school and then I won't have to pay a fine. So we went round and round and round on that, and we did vote to go along with the rest of the community
Okay.
on that.
Okay.
So mainly what I'd like to talk about today is budget. We had our budget meeting yesterday. Third's having theirs today. GRF had theirs on Wednesday. I've been in budget meetings for 5 days this week.
Numbers spinning.
And it's really difficult because you know how rumors get started in this community. And so I've been getting calls and calls and calls from people saying, what do you mean you're raising our assessments by $47 per man or per month? No, we're not. I want to get that out there. The budget process is interesting, and it takes months. It's not something that just happens, and there are no numbers that are just picked out of the air by staff. So, and we are involved. We have service level meetings where we meet with various areas of staff, for instance, maintenance and construction. And they say, this is what we're doing right now. And we say, but we want this. We want this added. And a lot of it's because members come to us and say, we need this, we need that. And so then they add it in. So the first go round, this is version 1, sometimes is a wish list. All of the things that we ask them to price out for us and tell us what it would cost to do all of the various different things. And sometimes it's programs we already have that we are just tightening up on. For instance, in the waistline problem where we were relining the waistlines, it was a 12-year program. And last year we said, no, that's too long. We're going to cut it in half and make it 6. Well, that costs more money to do more units every year. So we look at things like that. We always have to take into account GRFs who were the day before, and we add that in because all of our United members are also GRF members. They fund a whole different fund. It's apples and oranges. You can't say if you cut this out from GRF, it's automatically going to transfer to a mutual. No, it's different bank accounts, different funds, different budgets, whatever. They fund the amenities. They're the ones that keep all of our clubhouses going, our pools going, tennis courts, all of the activities, the golf course, etc. And so it's up to them to say, this is what it's going to cost us to furnish the mutuals with those amenities. And we do have some input. We serve on those committees and we give our input and we say, we think this is extravagant. Maybe you don't need to exchange this furniture this year, things like that to help bring it down. But for the most part, we're kind of at their mercy. They tell us what they need. So we started with the $47 number that everybody is bandying around, and it is going down, and it's still going down, and we cut a bunch out at the time. And so some of the things that I didn't bring you a slide, but maybe you can see the red lines. That's our reserves. And we are getting towards the red part of the reserves by using them. We need to continue to fund our reserves. It's like a savings account, a bank account. You take money out, take money out, next money out. You've got to put money back in.
Right.
So that's one of the things that we're looking at is refunding that. Not huge, but at least we had a reserve study done by an outside company this year, and they suggested that we put in $7.50 per man or per month back in the reserves, and we said that's a little much for us, and so we're going with a lesser number, but we still have to put money back into the reserves.
Right.
And so many of the things that were on the operating budget that we did yesterday were things that were on a want or a wish list. Things that our residents have asked for, or things that staff has said we can do this, or the board has said why don't we do this. And so we were able to cut out quite a bit of that to be able to bring it down. by saying, nope, we're not going to do that this year. That doesn't mean we're not going to do the project. For instance, if it's a project on exterior walkway lighting, we're still doing walkway lighting, but instead of doubling the number of new walkway lights that we put on, we're going to do the same as we did last year, and we're going to keep it even.
Right.
So there are a lot. We looked at building numbers. Third had a wonderful project this last year with big new building numbers, and that's always a problem. People say, we can't find where we're going, and when we have guests come in, they can't find our buildings. Well, that's a wonderful idea and a wonderful project, but we decided we had other things that needed our money this year, and we weren't going to do that. So there were a number of things in those reserve changes that we decided that we would not. Now we're trying really hard not to do what they did years in the past, where they just kept deferring and deferring and deferring, and that's why we have infrastructure problems right now, because we didn't take care of them. So we're trying to be prudent and take care of as much of that as we can without getting too far ahead. They said, well, why don't you just do all of the sewer lines in 1 year? Oh, that's millions of dollars.
Yeah, that'd be a big chunk of change.
It would either be a special assessment or take our whole reserve fund out. So we have to be prudent. And everybody on the board, all 11 members on our board, live in this community. We pay the same assessments that you do. And it's important to us to keep it as low as we can, but by the same token, we have to pay what we have to pay to get things done. It's our fiduciary responsibility to the mutual to make sure that we are keeping things sound and not letting things fall apart. We try to be responsive to the residents and keep it as low as possible, but there are lots of things that that just have to be done.
Well, there's rising costs too. With other things,
absolutely. You take into account things that we have to supply and buy, and there's tariffs on those now.
Right.
Those prices have gone up. I say to people, when you go to the grocery store, are you paying what you paid even 3 or 4 years ago? No. So when we have to buy supplies, not at the grocery store, but those types of things, all of those have gone up. So as I said, we did version 1. We have version 2 coming up August 9th, and it will be televised here on Channel 6, so you can all see. And in the meantime, we will be working with VMS to implement the changes that we wanted and went down, up, things that we put in, took out, etc. So it's not a done deal. That's the big message I want to get across. It is not a done deal. We are still working on it. Yes, there will be an increase, but we're going to keep it as low as we can in order to still function.
Perfect. Well, perfect. Well,
that's where we are.
Well, that's good. Good overview. Thank you for all the work that you do. I know it can be challenging at times, so thank you. And remember what Juanita said, that the United meeting is replayed on our station here, so please check your directory for those times. We'll be right back.